What's up, everybody? Very exciting episode of the Locked On Vikings talking to undrafted free agent Devron Harper. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, where we're always trying to learn something new. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thank you so much to my hashtag everydayers, my every other dayers right now, I guess. Those of you who have been sticking with me throughout all of the draft process, throughout the dead of the month of May, really appreciate you all, especially sticking with me as the show is in a little bit of a slowdown mode while I'm out of town. And thank you so much to anybody here who is new. If you're new because you wanted to see a player interview, I hope you come and enjoy it. My name is Luke. I will be your host, and you can, of course, find this show. Usually, you can find it Monday through Friday, everywhere you find your favorite podcasts, whether it is a podcast listening app like SiriusXM, even YouTube, or Amazon Fire and Roku, if you just download the Locked On Minnesota Sports app on those smart TVs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I don't want to waste any time here, so I'll just intro this. This is, I think, going to be the first or maybe second installment of the Everyman series. That is a series that we do here every year on Locked On Vikings. That is every man on the 90-man roster's backstory. Now, luckily, I did the entire 90-man roster last year, so there are a lot of people that have been done already. Anybody who's returning from last year has been done, but everybody new. We want to learn how they got to the NFL, their story, their personality, who they are, and especially with some of the undrafted free agents, there is no better way to do that than by just talking to the dude. So if I can get him on the show, I'm going to do it. And this is Devron Harper, wide receiver out of Mercer. Had an awesome conversation and a lot of really interesting little nuggets in there too. So can't wait to share it with you. Let's get to it. Okay, very excited here to be with Devron Harper, Vikings undrafted free agent, Mercer alum, native Georgian, right?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man? Congratulations on the big call.
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Hey, I'm just blessed, thankful that they gave me this opportunity.
Fantastic. So anytime I get to interview a player here on Locked On Vikings, the first thing I always want to ask is where it started. Some people picked up a football when they were 4. Some people didn't even know about the sport till they were, sophomores in high school. When did you first pick up a football? When did you fall in love with the sport?
Well, my mom told me I used to play with footballs when I was like 3, just having them in my hand. I really don't remember that far back. You know what I'm saying? But what I do remember is playing like when I was about 6. I played when I was 6 for a little rec league. It was called the Bulldogs. That was my first ever team playing. I had some nice brothers on that team, man. It was still like a childhood thing till we got older, and then it finally separated. But that's when I first remember being 6, and just after that, I fell in love with it, man. Just kept going, kept playing.
Excellent. Now, so I understand that you went to Heritage High School, but almost did not. And I think there's a story there.
Yes, sir.
Well, so what was, you almost went to a private school? What was the deal there?
Okay, I had went to the private school to do a little training camp thing. It was like a little practice or whatever. And, showed them what I could do. They really liked my skill. But it was just one thing that they had to tell me that kind of ended it. They was telling me I had to cut my hair. And I wanted my hair.
Okay.
It wasn't like that deep, but it was like we had to do this in order for you to come. And I just wanted to know what the reason was for me having to cut my hair. Like, what is that?
Did they give you a reason?
They did not. They just said it's school.
Oh, wow.
Deal like that. So I was like,
oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. That was that story. Yeah, that's all it was. They just told me I had to cut my hair. And I live by it. I feel like my hair make me, man. Like, I just love it. Give me my little swagger, what I like how I move around. So I just wanted that.
I feel like especially on the outside, like receiver, corner, like those positions, you gotta like dress well, test well. Like you gotta feel it.
Yes, man. You get it. Thank you.
Yeah, right. I'm a big proponent of a little bit of drip, a little bit of swagger. It's important. It's important. So you played a lot of sports in high school.
Yes, sir.
What was it about football that ended up, you stuck with that over track, everything else that you did?
With football, it's just I could tell I just had more heart with it. I had more emotions with the sport. You know, simply just losing a game could make me cry,
Mm.
or just I felt it, or it's like I could go back and replay plays that I knew I should have did better on. If I'm playing basketball, it's really like that. Once that game over, it's just like okay, let's just move on to the next one. Or it's like if I did something wrong in any other sport, I trained to get better at what I was doing, but it was like I didn't put the heart into it for that sport. Like even with track, like I just knew I could out jump people when I did high jump. So it's like I didn't really put too much effort into it. But anytime it came to football, I would day in and day out try to keep working and work better on. If I had one move to improve on, I'll spend at least a whole week on that one move trying to at least get the move down pat. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it was that type. I wanted to always get better in that sport, and it just showed. Like I could show after a game, it really affected me, or in the game, it'll affect me. Like I just want to win, man. So I was like, I'm not too emotional, but like I let you know that okay, he really loves the sport, he wants to play it, and he wants to win doing it.
So when you were at Mercer, you met a very good friend who is in going to be in Minnesota with you, Ty James. Is that where you first met? Was that Mercer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How'd you meet?
Uh, really just coming in. It's crazy. It was because we did one receiver. So we did the one receiving core type deal when I first got to Mercer. So Ty was the outside receiver. I usually play slot a lot more. When I came in, they was telling me it's a dude that's ahead of you right now, which is Ty James, and you have to fight for that spot or whatever. But our roles was totally different.
Mm.
So it was like you're like a big body receiver, and I'm more of like the shiftier, standing inside, and I could go outside. So we kind of met up. We was just talking a lot, like, hey man, we gotta fight. I mean, we gotta just help each other, but get better. We gotta really work every day. And I was letting them know, like, every day I'm gonna put the pressure on you, man. Like, if they telling me that this is your spot, I'm gonna make sure every day I'm trying to show them that it's supposed to be my spot, and you should do the same every single day. You need to show them, and we kind of became brothers from that. So we'll be at practice, just going at it with each other, just like making little bets and everything. Like, man, I bet you ain't gonna, I bet you ain't gonna do this, and it just kind of like built, and then it just got to a point where it's like, if you don't make the play, it will show like either one of us will come at each other like, hey man, you need to wake up, bro. Like stop doing that. Like play your game. And we just encourage each other. And after that, it just came about, man. And we here now. But when I first got to Mercer, we had a little class two together in the summer. So that kind of and we was I wasn't his roommate yet. I got his roommate the next year. But when I got there, we had a class together. And we just vibe from there.
Okay, so I need to know more about these bets. Are they just on the football field, or do we get like video game bets, or is it just football?
On the football field, like I just bet you ain't
Okay.
ball, one of those types.
Okay. Okay.
It wasn't too serious, man. Like, especially after our coach was telling us about all that gambling stuff. I said, man, we not doing.
Oh,
I don't want to get
true,
caught.
true, 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 true.
It was a bit of just, hey, I bet you won't go over and catch over his head on this play. So we'll be eager when that play comes. We're gonna try to make it happen just so we can just talk about it to each other. Like it was one of those type deals.
All right, I hear you. I hear you. So the two of you are now going to play together in Minnesota. So I would love to know more about the story of how that came about. Did you get the call? Did you get talk to people together, or did one of you get the call and the other got the call, or what?
Yeah. So, like actually, as soon as the draft went off, my agent, he hit me up and told me like, "Hey, Minnesota is very interested. They want you for this." And I was like, coming from that, I don't want to be like a bandwagon or anything, but truly and honestly, that's been my favorite team since Adrian Peterson was there. I already let people know they know this. Um, I even have jackets that had Minnesota before I even got there. You know what I'm saying? So it was just one of those type deals. And I told my agent, I'm like, hey man, yes, like let's take that, let's do it, let's ride. And Ty, he had talked to me because I think he was originally going to go to Baltimore, I believe. But then he was like, he just felt it, made the decision to, he wanted to be in Minnesota. So I said, man, hey, I feel like that's just God, man. Like, he's just showing that, since the season didn't go as well as we wanted. It went well, but it didn't go as well as we wanted it to go. Now we get to try to come back and make something happen again.
It's really interesting with the NFL now, especially as an undrafted rookie. It's special teams is everything, right? Special teams is your avenue to make the roster. You're very well versed in special teams. So I'm gonna put the screws to you here. If you had to pick one as your true love, is it special teams or receiving? If you had to, gun to your head.
Gun to my head, special teams or receiver?
Yeah,
I'm a big receiver. I love, that's my go-to, man. That's what I wanted to go to college for anyway, to be a receiver. So I'll pick receiver.
Yeah. But you have a lot of experience returning, and you definitely still have a love for returning, right?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I love it. Like, I actually love it. Like, it's hard because I know, like, when you ask that kind of question, I'm trying to think about like what more effective I would be if I had to just play a whole game. And I know as a receiver, you'll be out there much more, so that would have been the case on that. But I had love for both of them, man. I get excited. I get that rush from any one of them if I make a play.
There was a great quote from Kene Nwangwu, who, if you haven't met, you'll meet him soon. When he was in college, he's a prolific kick returner, and he was just raving about how much a return can change a game. And there's actually like an Iowa State game that he was talking about where that happened, where it was all going wrong until the kick return, and then it turned around. He had one of those a couple of years ago in Minnesota as well against the Patriots. It's the returning can be very it can just juice up the whole team. Really excited for you. So there are a few more things that I want to ask you. So stick around. It'll come up next. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. No matter what's going on in the wide world of sports right now, baseball season in full swing. So you can go gamble on some baseball games. You can gamble on stuff. Caitlin Clark in full swing with the Indiana Fever. You can go gamble on her. You can gamble on some NFL futures as well. If you think the Vikings can maybe steal the division, there's some good odds out there on that. A lot of value there. So head on over to FanDuel.com. And if you're new, sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can get $150 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So go lay down some easy money line somewhere. A $5 bet on that, you can get $150 back. That's 30-1 odds just for signing up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Keeping it moving here on the Locked On Vikings podcast with special guest Minnesota Viking Devron Harper. So I feel I should ask you about being a 5'9". That is 5'9", 170. That's very small on the spectrum of NFL players, but that's you've always been able to play small. Do you ever feel underestimated?
All the time, man. It just come and go. Some people say, hey, it's a good thing. If you can move good, then hey, do what you do. But I honestly do want to put on weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get to that wherever they would need me to be at, and I'm gonna grind and get to it because they've been in this game longer than I have. Sometimes this could only work in college. You never know. You meet bigger players. Being able to take more hits, make your career last a little bit longer. So, I'm full go for whatever is needed. But I honestly do want to gain weight. Just put on a couple more pounds, some muscle, just so I could be able to potentially take those hits.
Have you toured the Minnesota Viking facility yet?
No, sir.
Oh, you're gonna see you're gonna fall in love. The weight room's really cool.
Okay.
So I'm gonna steal something shamelessly now from Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, who have a show called Move the Sticks for the NFL Podcast Network. Whenever they talk to players, they will ask about their 3 H's: a highlight, a hardship, and a hero. So let's start with, tell me the story of a highlight that you are particularly proud of?
Graduating.
Okay. Was there well, tell me what was difficult about that? What makes it feel like a triumph?
Just being at school, man, like a lot of the work, I didn't understand a lot. It was like just hard for me coming up. Like, I mean, I say, when you put your mind to it, things can happen, you can understand them. But some stuff, it was just like, man, I just didn't know. So it was just like, school always been kind of difficult for me, but to pull out and to, keep going, graduating from high school and then coming and being the second to graduate from college. It's just an honor. Like, I'm just showing my family that I could do it, through everybody that tried to doubt me for saying that he ain't gonna make it this far. He's probably ain't gonna graduate in college. And then I did it. So it's just like, that was a goal that was set for me. That's all I wanted that in life. Like, I wanted to say I graduated from college knowing that I put all my all into it.
Yeah, now you have that. What would you major in?
Communications, and I'm minor in journalism.
Okay, so is that a direction you'd want to go however long from now when football's done?
I mean, kind of getting like talk shows, like I'm watching a little Shannon Sharp stuff, the Cam Newton thing. So like I follow up on them guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, make a big stink in the NFL. Get some cameras on you. That'll help you out. That'll help you out a lot. So the next one is you can feel free to dig as deep as you want or don't want with it. But I'd love to hear about a hardship, something that you feel you've had to overcome to get to this point.
Something I had to overcome. I say my injury when I had torn my hamstring. I feel like that was one that it kind of like let me realize that like this all could be over in 1 second, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, coming from the college that I was at when I started at Gardner Webb, I seen people faces change. Like, oh, he hurt. It's over with. Like, you could see the confidence level from the coaches. Kind of like trying to move on quick. It's just that kind of deal. So I was just like, I had to sit back. Always coming from being that star person, never injured, never hurt. And this boom, when this hit you, it just feel like nobody's around you no more. So that was kind of a tough deal, but a way of overcoming it. When I transferred to Mercer, they kind of knew about my injury. They knew, all right, he got this little problem going on, and they took me in as a family, man. Like, they took me in. I did summer workouts, but they kind of made a minimum for me. I was in the training room every day. They just showed love, man. They didn't care about it. Coach let me know, hey, we need you back. We want you to play. We want you to do this. So it was kind of like a set point in my life. It was through COVID too, so it's just like everything was just happening so fast, and it was just like not the right time. It felt like it wasn't the right time, but now we see it really was. It kind of came out, and I came over it.
Was it that vibe, that kind of that like love and like looking for that love and support, that was like the reason you decided to enter the transfer portal?
Definitely, man. Definitely, it was a lot of the vibes was kind of off. Just a lot of coaches that I came in with was just gone, and then when others came in, it was more of just like trying to make a new team, almost rebuild. So it was like really not looking this way no more. So that's how that worked. But the good thing is my man Coach Houston, he was at Mercer. He had left from Gardner Webb, so I kind of knew somebody that was already there.
And for everybody else, who was Coach Houston to you? Is he your position coach?
But he was my receiver coach at the beginning. But he also did like equipment. He was an equipment manager, and all the. Yep.
Yeah, that kind of thing can be, especially for college kids, something like that instinct that's really important. And now with the transfer portal being more like open as it is, it's something you can even like kind of act on. So the third H is a hero. Tell me about a hero in your life.
Hero is my mom. My mom, my hero, man. See how she overcame all the battles that she, struggled through life, just with health and everything, and still have the strength to make it through for us. Like when your folks tell you and in the hospital and they say like, hey, I was thinking about you. They gave me the strength. They gave me the courage to be able to come and be like, I'm not going to let go for my baby. Like, so I say that to myself when I walk on the field or anything. Like, she went through all this to be able to be in this spot, to be able to watch me. So let me show out. Let me sell out for this moment, you know, for the people that support and love me as much as I love them.
Before we wrap up here, is there anything you would like to say? There is a chance that there are people, players on the Vikings that will catch wind of this interview. Is there anything you'd like to say to introduce yourself?
Man, I'm just ready to play. I want them to know that I'm coming to bring everything to this team, man. I'm gonna show my abilities. I'm gonna do my best every day when I wake up, day in and day out. You know, I'm gonna strive for greatness. I'm not just trying to come here and you know make just the other little contracts. I'm trying to stay here. You know, I don't care if my whole career ended here. Like, I want to be here and I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to win some Super Bowls. I want to bring happiness and joy to the games, man. Be exciting, an exciting player to all the fans.
Okay, one last thing. You say you want to go the Shannon show. You want to get the hot take route. NBA playoffs going on right now as we record this. Give me a scorching NBA playoffs take and do your best first take with it. You do NFL too, but I don't want to get you in trouble.
My take on it.
Get any opinion, just a scorching opinion on anything. Want to match up a player?
I say this. Watch out for Anthony Edwards, man.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
That's the one I'm gonna go. The Timberwolves, you know, a little sleeper team, but they really not a sleeper. People understand. They might do it, man. They might do it.
Pandering to the Minnesotans. Absolutely love it. Devron Harper, thank you so much for giving me your time, for telling me your story. If there's anything you want to plug right now, social media, some other project or anything, now would be a great time.
Hey, my Instagram, Devron T. Harper. You can follow me there. Devron Harper for Twitter, and I don't use Snapchat, so
fantastic.
Yeah,
probably man. Wise. Devron, thank you so much.
You're welcome, my man.
So since we have a little bit of time left, I actually want to talk about Devron Harper's roster odds and kind of where he slots into the 90-man. That'll be next. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by eBay Motors. Look, if you need something for your car, you don't want to skimp on that. You definitely don't want to haphazardly navigate the jungle of what does and doesn't fit your ride and your ride specifically. Your car is a part of who you are as an individual. It's how you get from one place to another. It's probably something that you use every single day, and how you keep it and how you express yourself through your car is like a part of who you are. So take it serious and go to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back, whether that's something like an LED or a roof rack or something cosmetic or something under the hood that it actually needs to keep going and keep doing what it needs to do for you to keep your life intact. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. It's obviously really hard for an undrafted free agent to make the roster. We talked about it last week when we had Kevin Fielder on. We talked a little bit about it with some of these undrafted guys, and we actually did get into Devron Harper on the field a little bit. So go check that out too if you want to hear a little bit about how his tape looks, right, as a receiver and as a returner. But really, to me, this is Brandon Powell competition. And that's kind of what undrafted free agents can be for sometimes. Sometimes they're just filling out camp. You just need enough guys so that, there's enough guys to hold the pads in the drills. But sometimes it's about breaking down the roles and positions on your team and on your roster into more than just wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line. But it's like there's the Brandon Powell role, and that's a little different than what, I don't know who takes the KJ Osborne role, if that's Brandon Powell himself, right? And maybe you want him playing more from scrimmage, so you want a different returner, a different punt returner. Maybe you want Devron Harper to try out. You want to try him out with the new kickoff. Because, he took a lot of jet sweeps at Mercer, like a lot of gadget plays and stuff. And the geometry of those is kind of similar to the way that the new kickoff will sort of work out, or at least the way that we saw it when it played out in the XFL. So maybe you want him in there to like push those guys as returners. And it does kind of like, look, you've got to do stuff on special teams, right? Like you have to be able to play multiple roles, especially if you're going to make the team as somebody that doesn't get in from scrimmage a lot. And who knows, right? Maybe Devron Harper does get in from scrimmage a lot, but it does feel like the role that somebody like Brandon Powell holds. He's the returner. He is, we'll say, wide receiver 4, and we'll say Jalen Naylor holds the 3 spot right now at pole position. They'll all compete. It'll all shake out over time, but that's probably how things start. And so you're kind of, okay, Devron Harper needs to be as good as wide receiver 4, needs to be better than Brandon Powell for that. And he probably needs to be better at returning, probably needs to be better at both of those things because he has to upset the status quo. This is the thing that makes it so hard for undrafted free agents to make it, because you're going into camp already immediately behind the 8 ball. You did not get drafted. You're expected to be cut. There is no investment in you. Even if you're somebody like Andre Carter or who was it, Courtney Davis a couple years ago that like get really big undrafted free agent deals, and you maybe got a big budget as compared to, the pool of undrafted free agent money that's available, but ultimately that's nickels and dimes when you talk about like cutting a guy. You cut a player that's on a real contract, you incur dead cap penalties, and there's like cap implications on that, and you're going to be disincentivized from doing that. Undrafted free agents, of course, don't have that. Plus, it's just a reflection on where teams are. You're walking in, and we just don't think you're as good as we think Levi Drake Rodriguez is at his job, or Michael Juergens is at his job. So you're already immediately, there's like a chip on your shoulder. You're already behind the 8 ball. And that will fuel some people, right? I'm sure for his entire career, Ivan Pace will be fueled by that sort of that lack of respect that comes from not being drafted. But I digress. I think his path to the roster is in that role. So that Brandon Powell role, some of it was gadget stuff, but a lot of it was depth. And here's the brutal reality of all of this is you kind of have to be an all-around guy if you're going to be wide receiver depth, because you don't get to pick who gets hurt. You can't just be a gadget guy and, all right, he got hurt and we bring in a gadget guy, because whoever let's say Jordan Addison gets hurt. You've got to be able to do the Jordan Addison things. And if God forbid Justin Jefferson gets hurt again, somebody's got to step up and do the Justin Jefferson thing, and somebody else has to do whatever that guy was doing. If Jordan Addison is going to do the Justin Jefferson thing, if Jefferson gets hurt, again, you got to come in and do the Jordan Addison thing. So the more specialized you are, the tougher it is to be depth. I mean, it's not dissimilar from like the way we view it on offensive line. If you can play guard and center and tackle, you're going to have a better chance of making the team, even if you're not quite as good at any of those things as, 2 other guys who are specialized but don't provide versatile depth, because you can then start to compress roster spots and, save a little bit of extra room for some luxury, an extra QB or, an extra wide receiver or a developmental player that's not ready, but now you don't have to expose them to waivers, that kind of thing. So you've got to prove that. You've got to be all around, and you have to be really, really good on special teams. It is an uphill battle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And I'm pretty sure if I had just told Devron Harper that he would have he would have probably agreed. Like you are absolutely behind the 8 ball. It's pretty cool that he gets to stick around with Ty James, though. That's pretty fun. And it can be a genuine, like, effective advantage just to have somebody in the building that that can help you through things, especially like learning the playbook. Oh man, I've got this quite like, wait, I missed this part when he was talking to me about it. I didn't really understand it. And now you just like ask your teammate and get it squared away instead of having to like, maybe mess something up to learn that lesson, right? Like it can just speed you along, not to mention just the comfort that just makes the transition to NFL speed that much easier. I don't know. I'm going to definitely be rooting for Devron Harper. I've seen him do like the rounds of a lot of like the smaller podcasts and kind of less official outfits, which like this one. And I really like that. I like, people looking out for the little guys sometimes. So that is very cool. And in terms of like which undrafted guy makes the roster, I don't know if it's going to be Devron Harper. I would love to see him on the practice squad, stay in the building, that kind of thing. But his path truly is probably through returning. So when I asked him, is it going to be receiving or returning? I was hoping he was going to say returning. But if his passion is receiving, that means, okay, go beat out Brandon Powell, go beat out Trent Sherfield, go beat out, Jalen Naylor, go beat out N'Keal Harry. But like, you're not going to see Brandon Powell compete with N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry does a totally different thing. And Jalen Naylor does a totally different thing as like a burner. They just will do different things on the offense. So what is Devron Harper's role? It's probably an after catch role. And I think him as backup Brandon Powell is a decent shot to be in the organization. And that might be like, look, you make the practice squad, you make some money. It's not great money, but it's money. And you put yourself in a great position to kind of head back to the roster later. You could be the kind of you could take that Tristan Jackson path into things where you're in a practice squad. And he actually was poached off of Denver's practice squad, I believe, if I recall. Tristan Jackson was. And into the Vikings practice squad. Like he was cut by Denver and we kind of picked him up. And he stayed on that practice squad until I think it was late year 2 was last year for him. He actually ended up getting in the game due to injury and actually managed to like get some run and get some time. And by the way, an NFL game check, that's going to be not insignificant. And that's the kind of thing that can really like set you up financially to be able to take the risk of like putting your eggs into the basket of another NFL season and still like pay your rent in the meantime. Like that matters at this level for these guys. When you're on practice squads, the scout team guys, they do not get paid a lot. So that really will help. And that would have to be like the hope. That could be the path to the roster is be backup Brandon Powell. But here's the deal. Spending a roster spot on the backup to a backup, maybe not ideal, but spending a practice squad slot, which are fairly abundant now. I mean, you've got 16 of these. There's a lot. So you kind of can't afford to use those on like more specialized things. And that would be Devron Harper's pass to the roster, at least in a more sensible world. But of course, there is always that remote, ever so slight possibility that he just explodes everything. And oh my God, we found a diamond in the rough and he Ivan paces it. That does not happen often. But shoot, I'm rooting for it. Hey, this is it. We're done with these stupid pre-recorded episodes. So whatever happened, I will be back to talk about it on Monday. And if nothing happened, then we'll continue with the Everyman series. This is Devron Harper's, of course. He just told the story himself. Beautiful. And we'll continue with the Everyman series until there's something else to talk about. I will see you all on Monday. And as always, Skull.